crooked BBC, crooked CNN, crooked CRTV, crooked SABC News International, crooked New York Times, crooked The Washington Post, crooked The Guardian Post, fake news, fake channel, fake journalist. That is a select of some of the words used today to describe broadcast media in particular, as online journalism increasingly reduces the credibility of the traditional media, seen by most across the world, especially populist movements, as puppets to the establishment. What is the agenda behind fake news? To answer that question is a multi-award winning journalist who has had at least a decade of offline and online journalism experiences with a continental distinction for fact-checking journalism provided by AFP and the African Media Initiative. ARISON, TAMFU, welcome to GLOBEWATCH.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Charles.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, in his first press conference, Jim Acosta of CNN put a question to him. And the moment he knew it was from CNN, he said, "You are fake news, fake channel, and fake journalists."
That's the very moment that we started hearing about fake news. But it's not a novelty, by the way, but the name fake news came from Donald Trump during his first press conference, like you said. But this is not a novelty. Fake news has always been there. It's just that it has not been called fake news. During the time of the Second and the First World War, there was a lot of fake news going around between the warring factors.
The belligerents.
The belligerents, because they wanted to have an influence on the war through propaganda. But fake news came to prominence with the advent of the social media since 2007. We're talking here about Twitter, we're talking here about Facebook, and we are also talking about publishing platforms like WordPress that are accessible and free of charge. Anybody, educated or not, can publish anything today, and he calls it news.
Let me put this question to you. Why do you think that most of us are so concerned about fake news in the world today? In other words, why has it taken such an unprecedented toll on communities? Is it because of Donald Trump?
The name, it is the name that is taking, has gone viral, the fake news. Like I said, it is not new, but coming from the President of the United States, supposedly the most powerful man on earth, this is nothing to joke about. But let's put in context for our viewers so that we understand what fake news is all about. Now, this is news that is not real. It is manipulated to resemble credible journalism. And there are two categories of fake news. News that is an imagination of somebody in his room, something that did not exist, is untrue, absolutely untrue. And somebody sits in his room or wherever in his office and write and put it out to the public there that, look, Charles Bonner is a bad guy. He beat this guy up yesterday, when it didn't happen at all. That's the first category of fake news. And we got that a lot during the U.S. presidential elections.
Absolutely. We'll be coming to examples in a moment.
All right. We'll be coming to examples. Good enough. And the second category is news that might contain some truth, but is not completely accurate. And it comes from people like you and I, journalists, and most especially bloggers, who do not do a lot of fact-checking before publishing, or simply exaggerate the story for some reason that is known only to them.
Let me give you one quotation from an unknown source. False stories that are deliberately published or sent around in order to make people believe something untrue or to get lots of people to visit a website. These are deliberate lies that are put online, even though the person writing them knows that they are made up. What is the intention of that? What do you gain by telling a fake news story?
Propaganda. You want people to support a particular cause. And the best way to get them to do that is to write stories about your enemy that are not true, so that you will win the sympathy of the people, the sympathy and the support of the people. And also, you want to see that what you're driving at is achieved eventually. And we got this with the US presidential elections, where the group of young people decided to be writing a lot of fake news regarding Hillary Clinton, in disfavoring Hillary Clinton and favoring Donald Trump. People even think that it is as a result of these fake news stories that Donald Trump was easily elected.
Let me just give you some of those examples of fake news stories during the US presidential elections. Quote, Pope Francis shocks world, endorses Donald Trump for president, releases statement ending the feed. And this source is coming from BuzzFeed News, yes, which is fact-checking. And that particular statement alone received 961,000 Facebook shares, comments, yes, and likes. And the other one was Obama signs executive order banning the Pledge of Allegiance in schools nationwide. And this was published on abcnews.com. And it received 2,170,000 Facebook shares, comments, and reactions. And the boss of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, says that the propagation of false information through Facebook is a terrible worry.
Definitely, because people have reached a level where they are fed up with certain things that are going on around them, and they want to influence this at all cost. Take note of the word, at all cost. You know, we were used to repression, but now with the advent of the social media, everybody can do anything at any time. And one of the examples, which, because we are living in Africa, you know, it was said everywhere that Donald Trump said he was going to deport all Africans immediately he is elected a president, which was very, very fake. And it went viral. In Nigeria, it was said that Donald Trump was going to deport all Nigerians, and people were confused everywhere. People fake news in order to create impact, to appeal the emotions of the people. Demagogy is mostly emotional, and in the Western world, most of the time to attract advertisement and have more money. There is a blogger who is actually doing fake news in the US who said that he's earning not less than $100 per month just because he has fake news. You know?
Fake news, you said, is not an element of today. We can quote privatized journalism, which comes from the Russian word of the Pravda, which was a newspaper controlled by the communist government at the time. I understand that a lie told on a television set, a lie spoken on radio, a lie spoken or written on Facebook or Twitter, fake news is fake news. Whether it comes from BBC, whether it comes from CRTV, whether it comes from CNN, whether it comes from ABC, whether it comes from my Facebook account, yes, or your Facebook account, fake news is fake news. Why do you think that fake news coming from social media is more dangerous than that coming from the established media channels I just cited, BBC, CRTV, CNN, and others?
Because the reactions are immediate. The social media is closer to the people more than the television and the radio. You have a guy sitting and talking on TV, you cannot react immediately. He says things that, you know, get you angry. You don't know how to get to him immediately. People want to talk to people that they're connected, even virtually, because with Facebook and Twitter and the rest, you get to
YouTube and other platforms.
The conversation is there, is immediate, and the impact is immediate. The shares are immediate. You can sit on CRTV and you are lying about an event. People get angry at home. They might even break up their television sets, but they can do nothing. But with social media is there, and this is a great tool for propaganda, especially in the Western world, where currently you have more than 1.8 billion users on Facebook. Can you imagine if you get a story that is fake? You want to say Charles.
It is even said that at least 80 million people are on Facebook every minute around the world.
Exactly. And you imagine the kind of impact that can have if you get a fake story and it gets across the world. Now, let's come back to the other aspect, which is not very visible to the viewers and listeners and those who work on the social media users. The second category of fake news, that which can be true, but is not completely accurate. We have that a lot coming from traditional media, like television and radio and TV. Recognize traditional media. This is an aspect. Let me give you an example. In a community, for example, in Cameroon, if people go to march on 11 February, and the people marching are not the real people that are supposed to be marching, and you report that there was a march past and the attendance was tremendous, the event itself is fake. If you report that event as news, then it makes it fake as well. And the use of adjectives, and I speak this with the authority of my years of experience and training, the use of adjectives is strongly discouraged in journalism because it tends to bring fake news a lot. You cannot talk about historic attendance or crowd. It is difficult in journalism to actually say how historic that crowd was. And it is also very difficult to talk about numbers without using estimate. You cannot say 1,000 people turn out in Birmingham.
That is absolutely correct. Each
Yes.
time you go to a professional school of journalism,
Yes.
they will always tell you that avoid the use of adjectives.
Yes.
It is good to use verbs because verbs send the message better and more accurately. I understand that citizen journalism has opened a window in this whole box. What is the challenge for trained journalists today in maintaining that the public gets right information? Because one of the elements of fake journalism is that people, especially those in authority, do not want to be scrutinized. And so when you want to scrutinize them, they tend to blackmail or to paint the media as fake news, fake channel. And the other day I was watching the deputy assistant to Donald Trump, Sebastian Gorka, who told Davis Evans of Newsnight on BBC that this whole channel called BBC is simply fake news channel.
Yes, that's one of the aspects of fake news. When it's fake news, not fake news, people tend to say news is fake when they don't agree with what you say.
Or in other words, when journalists tell a story which is not in your favor, you qualify them fake journalists.
Exactly. If in my village, Tabiken, for example, schools are not going on, and then I announce to the world that I'm just from the village and there are no classes as a result of the strike. If you are the one who wants the schools to resume as fast as possible, you will call that fake news, and vice versa. But the challenge for journalists is to intensify the training and fact-checking tools. And this is a new aspect of journalism that is not, unfortunately, very, very practiced in our country. Lots of journalists here do not fact-check. They report events, like I said just a while ago, if you report a fake event, that makes the news fake as well.
One of the reasons I brought you on this set is because you won the 2016 Africa Fact-Checking Awards organized by Africa Media Initiative based in Nairobi, Kenya, headed by former CRTV News Chief Eric Chinje.
An AFP?
An AFP.
Yes.
For example, we see all kinds of terrible pictures and images on Facebook. How do you distinguish that this video is from Nigeria, this video is from Cameroon, this video is from Afghanistan?
That's a technical exercise which I do not have the expertise to do. I mean, it's technical work when it comes to the photos. But you can recognize photos that are fake. When you look at that keenly, you see that there's somewhere, a photoshopping somewhere. But one of the easiest ways of identifying fake news is by checking whether the same story that you are hearing and reading on CRTV and Cameroon Tribune is being reported elsewhere. If CRTV is saying that this event is taking place here, for example, schools are 90% effective, and no other media except CRTV is reporting that schools are 90% effective, you have to check that news item. There's a problem somewhere. Journalists are friends. They meet all the time. They discuss, all the time on the phone, social media, and then they meet and discuss. That's why you have headlines that are all very similar. CNN is reporting almost the same thing. It cannot be only one media reporting an event of that magnitude. There's a problem with that story. That's the first thing. When it comes to online, we have the normal connotation, .com, charlesebonnet.com, .com, or charlesebonnet.co.uk. When you have some funny website with .com, .co, or .co, .tamfu, now, there's a problem there. There's no website on earth like that. It is a fake news website, and also you have to be able to distinguish between what you are getting on the left and what you are getting on the right, and see whether this is propaganda. This happens a lot in countries that have dictators. Be very careful with what comes from government. They fabricate events and get you journalists to report them.
You are very much aware at the same time that the most credible institution wherever on earth, be it dictatorial, be it democratic, be it, give it the name you want to give, the most credible institution or association on earth is the government.
Yes, it is the government. That is why journalists should be very careful, because that credibility is questionable.
Let me put a personal question to you. Have you ever promoted or produced or imagined or written, shared fake news?
That's a bizarre question, It cannot happen to me. I've never imagined something like that. I'm a journalist,
Have you ever, you have worked in a television station, you have worked radio, newspaper, online. Have you ever, in one time in your life, done fake news?
No, it's an impossibility. I've never even imagined that there is fake news. All of us got to know a lot about this from Donald Trump. Okay. That's when we started investigating.
Can you fact check your life and see if you have ever done that?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I might have fallen victim as a young journalist when I just started my profession to report some of the events that were organized by, government or some private institutions that were fake. Like I said, if you report a fake event, the news itself is fake. You, as a young journalist, you might not have the means to investigate, to know whether this event is fake or not, and you just report it the way it is, that there is march past. There's march past in Boya, there's march past in Yaoundé, when in effect, the march past.
Okay,
It's not really march past.
Let's
people who are hired to do that.
Okay.
And you have to investigate to know whether this is...
Absolutely. Investigation is undisputable in
Yes.
this entire episode. We have to cross-check, fact-check. But this is what Piero Scaruffi said about combating fake news across the world. The cure to eliminate fake news is that people stop reading a 140-character tweet and start reading a 600-page document. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense, of course. But at the same time, that 600...
In essence, he's saying that there should be cross-multiplication of fact-checking.
You get news that Charles Ebone is a bad guy. You have to check, read a lot. In essence, that's what he's saying. But this reading a lot might also be fake. You said a while ago that a fake news item received a lot of shares in the US, and that's what is going on now, especially in Cameroon during this crisis period. You just write something that I favor, that favors me. Whether it's fake or not, I just have to share it, It's propaganda.
It's propaganda.
I want people to win. If I just say that schools are going on in Buea, the University of Buea, it might be fake, it is fake, or it will be fake. And I want that University of Buea
just like it may be correct.
Just like it might be correct. I don't want to reason. I don't want to read again. So long as it favors me, I agree with it. I just start sharing. And the more you share, you now arrive at this 600 page that he was talking about. Because the more shares, that's how some news bloggers, especially bloggers, because a journalist can be a blogger, but not all bloggers are journalists. That's the unfortunate thing. And when bloggers take that, it becomes truth. When you lie and lie continuously, even yourself, you begin to think that your lies are actually things that
are happening, whereas these are not things that are happening.
Fake things.
ARISON, I have this question for you: the relationship between journalism and activism.
Yes.
Can a journalist practice both at the same time?
You know that journalism
because if you don't fall in the popular side, you are treated a bad guy. Even if what you are saying is correct,
yes.
you are seen as an enemy of the society.
I understand you.
Good.
I understand you entirely. This happens a lot during a crisis period.
Yeah.
Because when there is this crisis, there are two sides, This person is supporting this person. Enemy, and then the friend here. I'm supporting, I'm not supporting.
Yeah.
Anything that is coming from Charles Ebone, and I know that Charles Ebone doesn't support me, is fake. Even if it is true. Because it discourages my battle. I want to win. And anything that is coming from me, if Charles Ebone is not intelligent enough, and is also an emotional human being, it's fake for him as well. On both sides, It's coming from this place, it's fake. It's coming from the other side, it's fake. Now, talking about journalism and activism, in the purest sense of the word, journalists are not supposed to be activists. Because that's a different exercise entirely. But journalists are in reality disguised activists. We have our opinions, you and I, although we don't air them. We go on air and report about things that we don't agree with. We get angry when we report about these things, but we have reported simply because we are journalists. But a journalist is first and foremost a human being with feelings and his thoughts. He agrees and disagrees with events and people. It is a very dangerous thing to report fake content, fake news. It has a direct effect on the credibility of the media organ and the people that work with or for this media organ. People tend to question whether news coming from this particular source can be trusted anymore. And they extend, by extension, they talk also about the workers of the media organ. If this guy is working for this channel and this channel is reporting fake news, then he too is fake. This is one of the greatest consequences for us journalists.
Let me take, for example, the US elections. The Gallup polls, which is one of the most credible in the US, says Hillary will win. YouGov, which is one of the most credible in the UK, says Hillary will win. Ipsos, which is one of the most credible in France, says that. We'll report all of that. The material doesn't come from us, and we say these are the sources. And at the end of the day, Hillary doesn't win, Marine Le Pen doesn't win, David Cameron doesn't succeed to maintain the British inside the European Union, and the outcome is that these are fake journalists reporting fake news and fake material.
It's simply because, I mean, look, who are those saying that this is fake material and this is fake news? These are definitely the supporters of Donald Trump. The supporters of Hillary Clinton are not saying that. That is why I said, be careful the person saying this is fake news. Where does he belong? Where is he coming from? If he tells you that is fake news, check again.
ARISON, TAMFU, thank you very much for being guests on GlobeWatch.
It's my pleasure, Charles. Thank you again for inviting me.
You are welcome.